Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-host, Social Suite, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Clean Air Metals, Inc., a Canadian-based platinum and palladium exploration company. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Jim Gallagher, Executive Chairman of Clean Air Metals, Inc., which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol CLRMF and on the TSXV under the symbol AIR. Welcome, Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. It's my pleasure this afternoon to step you through very quickly the Thunder Bay North Critical Minerals Project, wholly owned by Clean Air Metals. I will be making some visionary statements, forward-looking statements, so please be advised to look at the disclaimer. I want to start by giving a land recognition to the First Nations that we are engaged with. We are on the traditional territory of the Fort William First Nation of Thunder Bay, of BZA, and of the Red Rock Indian Band. We also are engaged with the Métis Nation of Ontario and other non-proximate First Nations. We have signed, as of earlier last year, an exploration agreement, which has already paid substantial funds into a joint venture company of the three traditional territory holders. Our relationships are excellent, and business opportunities are being investigated as we progress this project. Here's the highlights, and I'll be stepping through each of these key points as we go through the presentation. We have recently updated our resource. We have 14 million tons in what is viewed as an underground constrained resource. This is all in the indicated category. We have 6 payable metals, we believe. 4 of them fit the critical minerals requirement. This is a rare PGM, platinum group metal deposit. Very few of them in the world, especially with high-grade platinum, to be found outside of Africa, outside of South Africa. And we also have significant palladium, copper, and good payables on nickel as well. Key to an established resource, we also have significant upside on the exploration side. Both deposits, and I'll lay those deposits out shortly, are open at depth. The bulk of our indicated mineral resource is above 500 meters. And we have significant potential at depth, which hasn't yet really been explored. We have the team that can build this project, explore this project. We're well financed at this point. We are in a cash preservation mode, given the difficult markets for miners and junior miners in particular. So we're kind of holding tight to about 9 million, just under 9 million in cash at this point. Carries us well into next year and funds our exploration plans for next year. We have the jurisdiction. We have the relationship with the First Nations, I think, as a positive at this point. And if you look at our sticker price today, we're certainly significantly undervalued versus the peers. Everyone says that, but the junior mining game tends to be that way today. So I also want to make a pitch here just on platinum and palladium. Again, rare commodities, very few primary platinum, primary palladium mines anywhere in the world outside of Africa. And this is essentially going to be a platinum palladium producer with about 25% revenue kicker coming from copper. And I'm going to talk about the hydrogen economy because it is getting a lot of press, and there is a significant role for platinum in the hydrogen economy. That blue box at the top speaks to the automobile industry, which is getting perhaps too much of the focus these days. Electric cars are the talked about element here, but the auto industry really only accounts for 10% of the carbon loading in the world right now. To solve the other 90%, hydrogen becomes a significant part of that solution, and platinum is key in the generation of green hydrogen. because they basically coat the anode cathode as they pass electricity through water. And platinum increases the efficiency and makes those anode cathode last longer. And then in the consumption side, both in a fuel cell is significantly, the interior filters are coated in platinum. Palladium could be a substitute, but right now platinum is the metal of choice. So a significant future potential here for these two rather rare metals. And let me advance here. So our team, myself, I'm formerly the CEO of North American Palladium. The company had a tough history. Brookfield Asset Management, the big Canadian holding company, investment company, took control in 2015. I had been the chief operating officer, became the CEO with a mandate to simply turn the asset around and fix it. We accomplished that, and at the end of 2019 sold it to Impala Platinum out of South Africa. 3 days later, I got engaged with the Clean Air Metals story, so it was a very short retirement for me. Mike Garbett is somebody through my Falconbridge career that I had worked with previously. He's come on board as our chief operating officer. Excellent mine engineering and mine operations experience. Last project was on the Côté Gold project in the construction phase. And Jeff Hagee is our VP of exploration. Jeff had a previous stint with the predecessor companies, so a lot of experience with this ore body, spent several years on the Noront project, and rejoined us about 2.5 years ago now. So a great team to see this project through both exploration and construction. Again, the highlights on the location, just north of Thunder Bay. Key points, if you can see, hopefully you can see my cursor. Paved provincial highway actually cuts through our claims, which are the green here. We have difficult to see, certainly on my screen, but the high tension power line comes through and cuts through our claims. We're only 60 plus kilometers down the highway from the Lac des Îles mine and roughly 40 minutes plus up the highway from Thunder Bay. So you couldn't ask for a better location for a project at this stage. So what do we have? We actually have a very well-defined underground mineral resource. Two predecessor companies, the Escape deposit on the left of the screen, previously in the hands and originally discovered by Rio Tinto. The one on the left, Magna Resources, and following that, Panoramic Resources, put 700 plus drill holes in it and established it. They took an initial open pit approach to this, which engaged, draining a lake, which we thought it was a non-starter, and the economics of the pit were not great. So if you look at the box on the left, again, 14 million tons of indicated resource in an underground environment as a resource, 1.2 million ounces of platinum plus palladium in about a 1-to-1 ratio. Significant copper values, significant nickel values. And something, I just got kicked out. I don't know if I'm still live, but for some reason I'm no longer in the presentation. There we go. Okay, I think I'm back.
All right, Jim, this is Janelle. I see that you're on slide 9.
There we go. Yeah, some other screen just popped up for some reason.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so here we have the current deposit. This is a cross section. You can see the surface in gray at the top. Key feature here, the top of this gently dipping chonolith is the geological term for this kind of circular magmatic intrusion, very close to surface. This indicates what's in the indicated category, meaning much better drilled, most of it at a 25-meter center, the inferred near the bottom, and the 14 million tons that we're talking about is all indicated. I'll draw your attention to the blue box. 4 is better than 5 gram material, and you can see a lot of these blue outlines. So a lot of high grade is a key story in this deposit. And again, still on the current deposit, here are some of those high-grade intersections, stunning grades at good thicknesses throughout the deposit. I won't read all of the numbers, but a feature of the current deposit is this high grade. You do see the lake here, so it does come under the lake. We've done some advanced geotech work. We've established a satisfactory sill pillar under the lake and can mine approximately 60% of the material that is under the lake. Over on the escape deposit, again, here's the high-grade section, better than 5 gram material. We spent several $1 million and over 60,000 meters of drilling over the last year and a half, and increased the up dip portion on the escape deposit. So again, continuous mineralization from a point, a good high-grade core, and the top of this deposit, roughly 350 meters from surface. And again, I'll just draw your attention to these intersections. Great thickness here as it kind of comes into a bit of a V-shaped, funnel-shaped deposit with a lot of high grade, and again, good continuous mineralization up the conduit. So relatively straightforward, easy to mine. And last picture, these have been shown in previous presentations. This is absolutely stunning, even though it's only 2.6, but it does show 2.6 meters rather. It does show that massive sulfides do exist in this system. The 98 grams of platinum plus palladium, almost 15% copper plus nickel. We are looking for more of this material, obviously. This was drilled historically by the predecessor companies, and the one in the Escape South zone drilled by our team just about 2 years ago now. And again, some stellar copper, nickel, and high platinum palladium grades here. So there is lots of high grade in this system. So clearly we want to continue looking for material and understand the mineral potential. We have done extensive magnetotelluric or MT anomaly surveys, geophysical surveys on surface. That's what these lines are. These lines were cut and run on surface, and they indicate high conductivity elements. Can be structure. We've drilled a couple of nearer surface ones, and it only indicates rock structure, not yet mineralization. But we do have some of the down plunge MT anomalies that have yet to be drilled. And again, both deposits, you can see almost 2.5 kilometers on the escape deposit that's been untested. And both deposits essentially on the other side of the escape fault, which was there before the deposits were injected, and so form a part of the genesis of these deposits. So essentially we have not really tested on the other side of the fault, and most of that is now sub 500 meters, and that forms part of our next exploration play here. This is just showing a magnetic anomaly that has been done and does exist on the down plunge from the escape deposit, and it certainly fits with the geology. It fits with the down plunge potential, and is our next high priority target. And similarly, over on the current deposit, it's a little bit deeper on current, probably sub 700 meters once you're on the other side of the fault. A little bit of geophysics suggesting the same structure, and there have been a few drill holes, not many, put in that indicate at a minimum that we have the right host country rock and that this chonolith still appears to exist. Clearly, these were injected from depth up to surface and carried significant mineral with them, and that forms the part of our next phase of exploration. So that's the exploration side. What are we doing on the technical side? Unfortunately, we did have to retract our original mineral resource and the associated PA with it earlier this year. We did have what we'll call an overestimation in the modeling that was done on the current deposit, not the escape deposit, but on the current deposit. The end result is we did lose a bit of material, and net with the increase on the escape deposit from the drilling, we are down about 15% on total ounces. However, so that has stepped us back. But in the fall of this year, in the spring of this year with SLR, we did restate that. The resource has been very well reviewed. DRA has been carrying on. DRA is a South African company established here in North America and have done an extensive second phase metallurgical program, and I'll touch on that. We have enlisted BBA, actually in Sudbury, where I am today, to do ongoing technical studies on mining, mine access, surface infrastructure, and all of this we expect to come together with permitting and our exploration plan by the end of the year, launching on a slightly different direction for the company here. I won't go into all the details on the metallurgy other than extensive second phase testing, multiple drill samples from both deposits to generate the composite samples. Lots of variability testing was done, and we've arrived at a split con, basically a copper con through a copper nickel separation process and a bulk PGE and nickel concentrate. Both of them have been determined to be quite saleable, especially the copper con is highly desirable. And again, I'm in Sudbury. There's two smelters that are quite interested in the bulk PGE and nickel con. So good recoveries, no red flag elements here that cause any concern, and very much in the wheelhouse of typical PGE nickel copper deposits in terms of recoveries and smelter terms. Straightforward flow sheet, crush grind, fairly simple. Again, no rocket science here and been repeatable. We used Blue Coast out of Vancouver Island initially, DRA for the second go around, and the results are very consistent. So briefly on the mining, again, this shows both deposits. This is the current deposit, flat dipping, dips at about 10 to 15%, which is a typical underground mine access ramp gradient, so quite easy to follow with the mine access. Current deposit will be the first one, the highest grade zones within the current deposit, better than 3 gram platinum, palladium, and good copper nickel values, is literally 70 meters or 4 months of development, and you'll be touching the top of the ore zones. Within the first year, the ability to develop the first stopes and start production is certainly there. And then the escape deposit, approximately 1.5 years to get down to the initial mineable material. And an alternative that we're looking at here is to actually access the escape deposit from underground once we start the current deposit. So those studies are in the works, but the key here is very quick and simple to get to. So on the current deposit, again, it's been described like a string of pearls in terms of the high grade above cutoff material, as you can see along here, following the down dip. So we've evolved our mining approach to potentially a no-fill mining approach. These natural breaks give us the opportunity to establish pillars between the higher grade pods here. And again, there's about 8 million tons in the indicated category on current, and we see mining that in an open stope environment for the majority of the material. No fill, some waste for fill, but no necessity for a paste fill plant, and a fairly reasonable production rate. Same is true for the Escape deposit a little bit deeper. Previous work envisioned that Escape would start producing probably in year 4 or 5, that the total access to Escape would likely be covered from cash flow from the current deposit. So straightforward mining, a nice kind of bowl-shaped high-grade zone, and very good rock types, no significant structure. And so again, no red flags from a geotechnical perspective in the mining approach that we may take at some point with this deposit. So we sit today with just under 9 million, about 200, just over 200 million shares issued with some warrants. Benton Resources, who pulled this deal together, key shareholder here, approximately 11%. Market cap has been floating around $13.5 million plus or minus. We have a total of probably 100 million invested since the predecessor companies and the work that they did, and almost $40 million in exploration that we have produced with what we think is going to become a very mineable deposit at some point in the future here. So a good board, diverse. Dean Chambers is formerly from the North American Palladium Board. He's now our current chair. Marianne Crichton, Hatch, and also on the board of the PDAC. Shannon Metatawabin is Fort Albany First Nation. He's also the CEO of an Aboriginal investment bank headquartered out of Ottawa. And so we've got a small, tight board, including myself, to focus on moving the company forward. So summing up, last slide, we are finalizing our long-term exploration plan. We expect to complete that in the fall of this year. Progressing the permitting. Permits have been applied for in late March for the new area that we want to explore. We expect that we'll end up drilling probably in January this year, or 24 rather. We are working on the internal technical studies, optimized business case, and we'll determine later again this year what direction in terms of PEA or PFS that we might pursue. We are engaging with potential strategic investors who could support the project through the next phases of exploration and technical studies. Two significant impacts here. It is a difficult time for junior miners. Share valuations are pathetic, I think is the best word. Don't recognize the value that's been put in. Companies putting out home run drill holes are not seeing any movement in their share price. So it's a very difficult time to raise money without significantly diluting the original shareholders. Our plan is to not issue any financing and do any equity financing this year and probably until late next year, depending on how much we begin to spend on the exploration program. So we're sitting on the cash and we're looking for investors who can carry through the next phase of exploration with us and hopefully be partners in building the asset. So our goal is to focus on the technical side, hang on to the cash in this tough market, and start in 2024 on the next phase of the exploration program and the technical studies. So that's kind of the summary. Very quickly, you can find this presentation on cleanairmetals.ca. And we absolutely invite anyone to give us a call. All our contact information is here. And I'm just going to have a quick look at questions here as they pop up. And let me just increase that. We have a question on the MT survey cost and which company did you use. I'm just going to have to beg off that one, Gordon. I need my VP exploration to advise on that. Government incentives for your projects. So I'm going to be pretty direct here. A lot of government talk about critical minerals. We have 4 critical minerals. The monies being offered come with significant strings and caveats. is not significant at the end of the day. The first tranche was potentially $500,000. In my estimation, we would have had to spend about $1.5 million to get the $500,000. As is typical with the government, they want you to spread that money out between universities, research, they want innovation. We're focused on trying to drill and build an asset, and none of the monies that are being made available by the government fit that bill. So it's really the larger companies that have the organization that can actually support all of that are actually, and if I can keep my question box, that are able to take advantage of that. So technically, the companies that really don't need the money are the ones that take advantage of it. Ben has asked, do you believe you're undervalued versus your peers? So again, our peers are all in the same boat in the exploration business. Metal prices, price of palladium has come off $1,000 in the last 2 years. It's a critical mineral. Price of platinum is still hovering, below $1,000 when it used to be $1,600 a few years ago. So despite all the noise about critical minerals, the current global economic concerns and a true lack of interest in mining is struggling. We, as a company, relative to our peers, took a significant hit when we had to do the restatement of resources. The end results were not anywhere near as bad as I think the market perception, and the numbers we present today have suggested that. But we took a 50% shave. Right? We were floating around 10 cents. We ended up at 5 and 4.5 cents. We're currently sitting at 6 or 6.5 cents a share. A significant opportunity, I think, even in a difficult environment here. And I think that's the extent of the questions I have at this point. And if there are no further questions, I see we got about 30 seconds left. I'm going to say thank you very much, everyone, and please